Hey folks, welcome back to the channel today. Sorry if it sounds a little bit muffled here as I'm wearing the mask because it's there's a lot of smoke outside right now. It's blowing in, so I have to make this video quick. Anyway, so today I want to try to talk about the bolt balance that we often see on these models here. And I was actually watching a video unrelated to the Airsoft stuff by Garen Thumb, I think it was, where he was talking about how the older short barrel systems like the 10.5 inch or 11.5 inch like that, before it became more reliable like today, one of the issues that was causing the problems was that the bolts, when the shorter barrels had too much pressure. And from what I understand, basically, I never understood why, but I guess after watching that video I kind of understand now that the stronger pressure from the shorter barrels cause these bolts to bounce, or it causes so much force that it bounces quite a bit, and which is causing some unreliability issues. And so they fixed that apparently by basically having a H2 buffer. I don't know if this is an H2 buffer or not. This is actually a real steel one that I bought a while ago, but from my understanding there's a weight that free floats in there, and so that kind of acts like as a dead hammer. I forgot what it's called, but it helps prevent that bolt balance. And I thought it was supposed to say H2 on it, if it's an H2 buffer or not, but anyway, there is some weight in there. So we may or may not need to use this or not today, and we'll find out. And some of these models don't exactly take this specific buffer, like the Tokyo Marui right here won't. I think you might be able to do the GHK. Obviously the SIG is something totally different. And I think, I've never looked at it, but I think the VFC could take this. So, but first, that's going to be for a separate video. So in part one today, because we're going to make it fast, I just want to see if the bolt balance is even an issue. Because someone pointed out a while ago, they're talking about the bolt balance, and a while ago, I couldn't find that comment again anymore. And I wish I knew which one it was. I think I'm going to try it out today and just take a look at all the bolts and see which one has that problem with the bolt balance. All right, so let's try it out. All right, so first up, we've got the GHK here. I think this is, interestingly enough, one of the biggest offenders in terms of the bolt balance, but it doesn't really affect the reliability of it. It's just interesting to note that. Same thing along with the GHK SIG 553. We'll talk about that later. But just an interesting remark though, when you'll notice that I open it up, they'll say it has the H on it, so it is the H1. At least that's what the model was designed after. So in many ways, this is kind of actually realistic, because for a short 10.5 inch, I think, barrel like this, with an H1 type of buffer, I believe you are supposed to experience bolt bounce, at least in the real version. And so in the Airsoft model, it's kind of realistic that it's like that. So that's kind of cool. Next up, you've got the Tokyo Marui. This is an original MWS system, unmodified, using green gas here. And surprisingly, this also has a bolt balance that I think is arguably greater than the GHK models, either the GHK models. However, again, I really want to stress that this is just talking about the physical bolt balance itself, and it has nothing to do with the reliability, because as all of you guys probably know by now, the Tokyo Marui is one of the most reliable platforms out there. Now, unfortunately, in terms of fixing this or changing it, it might be a little bit tougher because it uses its own proprietary recoil spring and buffer. So I don't think I can just easily replace it with a real steel one. So that's how it looks like. All right, now comes ViperTech. This is something I've been really interested in because, as some of you guys might know, the ViperTech is kind of notorious for its feeding issues and jams. And so I've always wondered, is it possible that this can partially be explained by the bolt balance issue, especially when it's on the more fast mode, if you guys know what I mean. And surprisingly, the results show that the buffer spring is really strong with the buffer on it here, that there's very limited bolt balance on this one. So actually, this is probably the least bolt, in its original form, this is the least likely to have bolt balance. So I guess you can rule out malfunctions because of the H1 style system, unfortunately. And just a quick remark, that last round lockback, despite having just one round left in the magazine, is a common thing with this magazine. It's just the way it's seated, so it's kind of a weird fluke, but nothing really related to the bolt bounce. All right, now let's get into the legendary VFC models here. This particular one, of course, is an M733. I do have an XM177 by VFC, but since their baseline models are pretty much the same, at least internally, we can make the same extrapolations on these ones right here. And as you can see in the results here, it's not bad. Minimal bolt bounce on this one, a moderate amount, but nothing too bad. Don't worry, for those of you guys who are big WE XM177 fans, even though I didn't do a test run on this video, I did do one a while ago, both with and without the same buffer, real steel buffer, and so I'll put those in a second. But from what I can gather, with the original WE buffer spring, the XM177 has a very similar bolt bounce to the VFC model. I've always found it a little bit interesting that the VFC model is very dramatic when you shoot it, because there's a lot of gas that spews out off the time. I think that looks pretty cool. All right, so here's your WE with the standard default buffer spring and buffer.
To stabilize the barrel gets damaged. You can always fix this, but if you don't, it will affect your accuracy. Not so much in semi-auto, because the round will leave the barrel before the recoil happens. But assuming you can realign your gun with your target, it won't be an issue. It only becomes an issue, though, on fully automatic fire, when you'll notice that rounds starts drifting off target. I have not tried the pistol.
All right, so here in this video, it's an older video, well, the same video that I made about the review of the XM177 by WE, in which I did use the real steel buffer, and as you can see, the bolt bounce is practically non-existent, very crisp, so pretty cool.
For the most part, those are good to go. Other parts that didn't fit maybe are the real steel birdcage flash hiders. I couldn't get those to work because they use different dimensions. But there are quite a few parts that are helpful, and people have been able to use certain parts interchangeably.
Here's the GHK SIG right here, which I think has a comparable amount of bolt bounce compared to the GHK M4 series. But again, nothing really affecting, reliability. I do notice that sometimes, you'll get BBs that fall out of the chamber. So you'll hit one round, the BB falls out, and then it shoots a blank the next time. But not too often. And sometimes I think that's related to the hop up rather than the bolt bounce issue, but either way, there's really no way or easy way that I can. Sorry, I can't believe this is like the third time I'm recording this. Like the camera cut out. Anyway, there's no easy way of changing, because the system is totally different, that at least I know of. So that's just. But again, no reliability issues for the most part. I know I'm kind of nitpicking here, but there you have it. So just as a reminder, let's bring back the image just so you guys see what the GHK looks like in its default setting here, out of the box, because now we're going to compare that result to those of the quote-unquote H2 buffer, and you'll be able to see the dramatic difference here in this following video. So there you go. That's your real steel buffer right there. Obviously the resistance is much heavier, just like the real one, because it is the real resistance on the spring, and it cycles. But obviously the gas efficiency goes down, like you guys know already, and there's going to be more wear and tear introduced. You know, I'm not surprised that this works though, right? Because you probably have seen that WE video I made like years ago, where it cycled the full one. But one cool thing is that it brings the rate of fire to the real steel, because it's a much heavier buffer spring, so it's more in line with that 700 to 900 rounds per minute instead of over 1,000 rounds per minute with this model. So pretty cool. And it's much harder though to press on this button now, or the bolt stop. So you have to really, it's just easier to release it that way. Well, that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you guys all like the content. I forgot to mention real quick that when you shake the stock buffer buffer and buffer tube for the GHK M4, it doesn't make that rattling sound because there isn't that that dead bolt or that dead blow thing in it, so which is, I think, consistent with an H1 style buffer. But again, you know, this is just kind of a fun experiment, just a comparison to see all of them. Like I said, it doesn't really affect the reliability in terms of feeding or anything like that. It's not like one jams more than the other. Well, one does jam more than the other, but it's not because of this issue here. So again, it's really kind of cool, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. All right, see you guys next time.